All right, good evening and welcome to the East Long Meadow School Committee meeting. It is October 7th, 6 p.m. Call the meeting to order. This meeting is being both audio and videotaped. And I'd ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Sophia Cabucci, student representative.
Bill Fonseca.
Rich Ficero.
Sarah Trulio.
Gregory Thompson.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Antonella Rochella.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Kathy Saletti, Recording Secretary.
And we just have a time-sensitive issue that we would like to add to the agenda. So I'd like to entertain a motion to add 5.1.3 for the use of the turf field for this Sunday for the varsity soccer team at 10 a.m.
So moved.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Committee and subcommittee let's do minutes, please. I have minutes for approval.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 23rd, 2019 regular session meeting.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0. And now committee and subcommittee communications. Sophia, please.
Okay, so I had a few things that I wanted to bring up today. So, the 28th, we had the rainbow run that the Key Club did, which was awesome. I didn't get to go, but I had a lot of friends that went, and they all said it was a good experience.
Nice. I think they raised around $1,300 for the project.
I didn't know the exact number, but that's awesome.
Somewhere in there. I could be wrong at the exact number, but I thought it was around $1,300 for Project Thirst.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is pretty neat.
That's great. And then just kind of something that always happens in October, but I always think is really awesome. All the sports teams that are in season now in the fall kind of do the breast cancer games. So that's just something that I was noticing. So a lot of donations there coming together as a community, which is great. And then something that I kind of looked into this past week because it just came up on my radar was the new this year, the Chill Room with Mr. McGregor. So I hadn't really gone there at all, but I thought that it would be interesting to take a look at kind of what's going on because that's something new in the school. And I actually got to sit down and have a conversation with him, which was really awesome. And I kind of asked him like what he's been able to get done in the Chill Room and how it's being utilized. And I found out that he said he actually has a lot of students coming there regularly to get a break from the classroom and to learn how to deal with social and emotional distress. And then he also talked to me about how students go there and utilize it for conflict management. So if there's a student-student conflict or student-teacher conflict, they get to talk about it, learn how to cool down, reflect, and then make a plan to address what happened. So I thought that was really cool. So.
Is it available all the time, or?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I think you can go there from class. You have to get a pass to go, or like during lunch or any time, if you feel like you need to go, which I thought was awesome.
Cool. Thank you. Bill, please.
This past Friday, I attended the Connecticut Valley Superintendent's Roundtable Luncheon. Gordon was also in attendance, and the two keynote speakers were Glenn Kuchar, Executive Director of MASC, and Tom Scott, who was Executive Director of the Mass Association of Superintendents. And the topic was the Student Opportunity Act, which was passed last week by the Senate, and the prospects of it getting into the House this week and what they feel is going to happen. Very fruitful discussion. We do have a lot to look forward to because some of the provisions in the Student Opportunity Act will definitely benefit this district in a number of different ways. So it was a very valuable experience. I was actually invited to attend by Andy Churchill, who is Executive Director of the LPVEC.
Great. Thank you. Rich.
I got 3 items to report, all very positive. I had the pleasure of being in Mountain View for the culminating experience with spelling the word kind. And Mr. Shields, a parent, flew the drone over to take a picture. I have to say, as a former principal, I had nothing but the deepest admiration for that the feeling of that whole school was out there. It was so exciting, so exhilarating. And you know, you have the principal of the school talking to the head custodian who is putting all the kids in line, and it was just a great collaboration. I mean, I left there with a tear in my eye. If I was Principal Santinello, I would have felt very good about that whole experience. The whole school was great.
Came out great, the picture, I saw the
Yeah,
picture.
wasn't that
good
great?
picture.
I was at the top of the end, I don't know if you...
Oh, no, I saw you actually.
Second thing was...
I thought you were dotting the I.
Yes. Second, I'm going to follow up what Sophia said. I went to the girls' soccer game Friday, and they all were wearing pink shirts for Raise a Hope. They actually brought 2 parents out in the field who were breast cancer survivors and honored them. It was a very touching moment. And thirdly, the collaborative committee met, and remember that's representatives from all 5 schools, plus the superintendent and the school committee. We did solidify the first day of school, holidays, and the last day of school, which will come to us next meeting.
Okay.
And they talked about the one-to-one, how they are progressing. It felt like there was a lot of movement, but it's going to take, it's a work in progress. It's going to take some time to really incorporate that one-to-one throughout 3 through 12. And, but it was all positive, all very positive from everybody.
Great, great, thank you. Sarah?
I don't have anything this time.
Okay, thank you so much. Antonella?
I attended the Meadowbrook open house a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
And it was really nice. I hadn't been in there in a while, and just seeing what the kids are doing, and the technology that they're using at such a young age too. So,
amazing.
yeah, it was really nice.
How'd you do in the race, the ELEF race?
Did you win? First place, second place? Yeah?
I represented us well.
Good,
No,
There you go.
thank you. That's great.
I actually I couldn't go,
No.
but
They had a good turnout, I heard.
Yeah.
yes, that's what I heard too.
A nice day too, yeah. Cool, okay. We have an opportunity for our visitors to address the committee, seeing none this evening. We will move forward with our next order of business, 8th grade MIAA waiver for the girls and boys ski team.
Okay, we have Mr. McGee here, our athletic director. Will walk us through the waiver request.
Sure. So for skiing, for the girls' ski team, we're anticipating approximately 8 9 through 12th graders, and for the boys' ski team, we're anticipating approximately 4 9 through 12th graders. The MIA suggests applying for the waiver if we're below 8. So we're right on that line for girls skiing, and we're definitely below it for boys skiing. We're anticipating definitely 2 8th grade female skiers, and we're hoping for 1 or 2 male ski team members. So I have had questions in the past about the MIA rule for middle school waivers, so I did bring copies of that just for you to kind of put in your folder for future reference, just about the process and about what the MIA rule is for waivers, just for your files.
How often do they ski, the ski team?
Yep, so the ski team practices every Monday. They practice at Blandford, and the ski races are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they start in early January, weather dependent.
Okay, and they'll all ride up together, same bus? the
Yeah,
whole
same
school?
bus.
It's not a school bus then, or is it maybe?
As long as we have yellow buses, they'll take a
Okay.
LPVEC bus, and I'm optimistic that we'll have availability with those. If it's not, then they will take a Michael's limo or another contracted out bus.
We've had larger numbers in the past.
At
Four seems
times,
very light,
it definitely goes up and down. I was talking to some other athletic directors in the area, and to have 10 female ski team members, that'll be one of the larger teams in the area.
Okay, great.
Mr. Lee, I'm going to ask that you kind of follow this closely with the 8th graders. I mean, this is not an afternoon practice, and I mean, sometimes they get back at 11, 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night sometimes. I don't know if I'm exaggerating that time. But I know I've seen it pulling at 8, 9 o'clock at night, pretty late. So if we could just keep, I guess, an eye
Yep,
on the 8th graders and how they're dealing with this and their academics with Dr. Allen.
definitely. Yeah, typically they'll get back between 9 and 10.
Yeah, okay.
Is there a concern about only, like right now, we have 4 boys signed up and, 1 or 2, you might get 1 or 2. Is there a concern with that low number?
So since skiing is an individual sport, we definitely want to continue a boys and a girls program. The number is low, but it's gone up and down. So it's it's such an individual sport, we want to make sure that those individuals still have the opportunity.
No, I understand it's an individual sport. I'm just concerned that, you know, all of a sudden, we've only got 4 definite, and then you think maybe 1 or 2 coming out of, you know, from the 8th grade.
Yeah.
It's still only 6, I understand that, but there is a concern about the number.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a concern.
Okay.
Snowboarding, not allowed anymore? Well, my son snowboarded on
Yeah, I know, I
the team.
thought,
Oh, on the team?
Yeah,
I
he
didn't know.
snowboarded.
So there's no competing snowboarding team, but I would definitely be open to the potential of having a club snowboarding team that could join on the bus.
oh, there you go.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve the 8th grade waiver. Do you want these separate, Mr. Chair?
No, let's do them together.
I make a motion to approve the 8th grade MIA waiver for girls and boys ski team.
Motion made.
I'll second. Oh,
I should say for the,
Yep,
for
for
the
this year.
winter 2019-2020
Yep,
season.
agreed, thank you. Motion made and seconded by Mrs. Trulio. Discussion, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0. Next up.
And next up is the MIA tournament, so I'm looking for a waiver in the rental fee. So a little bit of background, the MIA has a tournament for all sports, the Western Mass Tournament. We've been asked to host field hockey for the semifinals and finals as a potential site. There would be no expenses to the district, so they would reimburse for the lights at $50 an hour. They would reimburse for the custodian, for DPW trash collection. So no added expenses, but what they are asking is for member schools, which East Long Meadow is a member school of the MIA, to waive the rental fee for the facility. It helps out neighboring schools. Minnechaug has new turf, and when they waive the fee and they host events, it'll help our fans have a short ride, so it's helpful to other communities. It's also helpful to our booster clubs, so they would have the opportunity to sell concessions and keep 100% of that money. And it also keeps MIA user fees that the school pays down because it saves them on rental expenses. So they're looking to November 4th to November 9th. Our sports teams would have priority, so our football team or any of our teams that make the postseason, they would never get bumped for an MIA event.
And I know we spoke about it offline, but the field hockey booster club would get first
Correct.
dibs on the concessions.
Yep, I would ask field hockey first, and then if field hockey wasn't able to do it, then I'd ask another
And go
fall
to
sports
soccer.
team. Yeah.
Okay, good.
are these typically night games?
So they are typically a double header from 5 to 9, and they will be fully aware that if we don't get clearance, that we'd have to play a
Yep.
4 o'clock game.
That was my next question because of what's going on now.
We should by then, though. We three
Hopefully, yeah.
I
frosts.
hope so.
Well,
I hope
We're
so.
hoping, but again,
3 frosts, then we're clear, right?
well, I think
Is that
it's,
it's up to the
there's
Board of
different,
Health, but,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Who supervises the crowd?
So the schools that come are required to have approximately 5 administrators or teachers or the athletic director that supervise the crowd, their own crowd.
Okay, and you'll keep us posted on if it happens in
Yep,
the
sure.
schedule? Okay, thank you. Motion, please.
Move to approve the MIAA tournament hosting of field hockey November 4th through the 9th, 2019, with waiving the fees as requested.
Okay, motion made
Second?
and seconded for the discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Abstain.
And 1 abstention. 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Okay, and then the additional item that we added for this evening.
Yep, so for Sunday, October 13th, originally rec football, they have 3 rec football games scheduled from 1 to 6. And then our high school varsity team was gonna practice from 6 to 8 because they have a game on Monday. Because of Triple E, we can no longer practice from 6 to 8. The rec football schedules are made 4 or 5 months in advance. So I'm asking for a waiver for Sunday, October 13th, for the girls varsity team to practice from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. so they can get some turf time before their game on Monday.
So for this, I specifically am not one to set some sort of precedent I know the church is right next door, and we've always been cognizant of the neighbors and the church. And so I understand the necessity for this. I would like to ask that we ask the coach or coaches to keep it down.
Sure.
No bullhorns or
Absolutely.
minimize whistling. Yeah,
Yep.
because I know it's cold out, but sometimes the church doors are open and there's a 10 o'clock mass. So that would be one of my prerequisites, just to make this exception, but to keep it on the quieter side, if we could, please. Anything else?
No.
Okay, motion then?
I make a motion to approve the use of the turf field on Sunday, October 13th, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. by the varsity girls soccer team. This is not precedent setting at all.
Okay, motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed nay. That carries 5-0 as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Cheers.
Take care, Kevin.
Stay dry out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sounds like it's pouring out there.
Presentation skills are really getting better and better.
I appreciate that.
Poor guys would hear almost more than us.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a grant from the Unify Against Bullying.
Foundation.
Yep,
That's
that's
next, right?
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That's
So-
right.
I'm sorry, do you want-
No, you go right ahead, I think you know a little more about
Birchland Park Student Council last year had applied for one of the mini grants to Unify Against Bullying Foundation, and they were awarded, and actually I believe this evening, they're at not only the award ceremony, but also Unify's, it's not a talent show.
Oh, it's a
Fashion show.
Thank you.
show, yeah.
Their fashion show, which has been their premier event over the last 5-6 years to raise money and bring attention to bullying, and more importantly, bring attention to how we can come together to stop bullying.
Is this the Robert Childs organization?
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds pretty neat. They're gonna make posters, they're gonna have a spirit week, they're gonna have a dance. It sounds really neat.
Yeah.
The nice thing was,
Yeah.
these were the students.
Little council,
It
yeah.
was fantastic. yeah.
Absolutely. Good, Antoinette, I'll make a motion.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I make a motion for the approval of Unify Against Bullying grant for Birchland Park Middle School.
Motion is
I'm
made
gonna second that.
There you
and
go.
seconded. Just to reiterate, to thank Robert Charles Photography and the entire Zumba family. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0 as well. And another donation.
Yeah, so in your packet, you'll see that Mountain View School, Elaine Santinello, is requesting permission to accept the $75 from National Energy Education Development Project. One of her grade 5 teachers attended the workshop, and so what they do is they give back to the school so that they can then bring these funds for future benefit for the students.
Very good. And a motion, please.
Move to approve the Mountain View gift donation of $75 from National Energy Education Development Project.
Excellent. Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0 as well. All right, here we go. Heavy hitters, capital projects, capital planning.
Okay, in your packet, you have 3 items regarding the capital plan. You have a sheet that looks like this. It's just updating everyone on projects that have been either completed or in progress over the last 2 years. There is one project that I put on there for Birchland. You can see number 2, the boiler expansion tank. That was back in 2016. We completed that. More or less, I did that just to give you an idea that Birchland's not being neglected. It's our newest school, although now this year it's 19 years old.
It's not new anymore.
So that's sad. So
Yeah.
things are,
Yeah.
I feel like
starting
we
to.
just built.
Yeah, there you go.
So just to run down this list, as you know, the windows and doors replacement through the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program, that is now in its final stages, mostly with accounting. We have to go through with Vertex, our OPM, and make sure that we've reported everything correctly to the MSBA. They do a final audit, and I believe then that closes out the project.
Right.
Our roof replacement is ongoing. We're at the point now where we're completing finishing work. It's mostly the sheet metal and the drip guards, I think they call them, that go on the edge of the roof. And they're finalizing anything that comes up. Some of the membrane will come up on the gym wall to protect that area and make sure they're finalizing that. And then, if everything goes well, we'll get to the punch list, and then we'll start to move into the same type of stages that we're seeing with the windows and doors.
With all this rain, it's a good thing.
Good test.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
It's
This will be
pouring
a
out
good
there
test.
right now.
Let's hope that, actually, they're working a second shift, so they may not be
They
working
may
tonight.
not be working.
The modular classrooms, you know that we hit a little challenge, actually not even a little challenge, pretty large challenge with this one. With once we had selected an architectural firm back in December of 2018, somewhere between January 2019 and March, when I think we were officially notified, that architectural firm went out of business. They put us into a really challenging situation where, with the help of DPW, we sought the guidance of the Attorney General and DCAM, and DCAM stands for?
I believe Division of Capital Asset Management.
There you go.
Very good.
Thank you.
I know.
Very good.
Mrs. Blair. We were approved to elevate Ty and Bond, who is the engineering firm, but they were taking sort of a secondary role to become the lead role, and then they subcontracted out the drawings and so forth. We finally have gotten everything to be prepared for the bid package, and we are going out to bid. These actually will now no longer be modular classrooms. These will be traditionally built classrooms.
Stick built?
Yeah.
Stick built,
Not prefabs?
not prefabs.
It's cheaper to do stick built now.
Is it really?
Yeah. It
What we
flipped.
found in this
It
process,
flipped.
which is one of the few silver linings, was that once our schedule was completely gone, we got cost on modular replacement and stick built. We found that stick built actually is less money. Modular provides you the scheduling and the
Quicker.
speed.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
you pay for the convenience.
Since
Yeah.
we had already lost all of that,
Yeah.
Right.
we figured we might as well look at both and make sure that we're putting something in place that will last and it will put our students in a good situation. for
That
years
won't
to
be a
come.
brick exterior, though. That'll still be a
It will be a brick
It's a brick exterior.
facade.
Yeah, it's
Facade,
a facade.
Yeah,
It's T111 on those modulars.
right,
Yeah.
because they're still trying to match the outside of the building
Yeah.
as
Oh, good.
much as
Oh, good.
possible. Mhm.
Great. And a bathroom? Bathrooms?
And both student bathrooms and a staff bathroom,
Wow.
which is a bonus.
Oh, sure.
Nice.
That was not in the original plans.
That's cool.
Maple Shade, similar challenging situations there with steam piping. When this finally got out to bid in the spring of last year, we actually received 0 bidders. And we feel that some of it's due to the fact the schedule, the timeline, but probably mostly due to the fact that the work itself involved going into the tunnels of Maple Shade, which are about 4 feet, 4 feet high.
4 by 4.
About, yeah, it's about 4 by 4.
Yeah.
Not only doing the work, but the work consists of welding.
Yeah.
And so we got 0 bidders. Eventually, we had to follow a similar route, seeking the guidance again of the Attorney General and DCAM. Given that you're dealing with a school and this was its heating system, they allowed us to then solicit quotes, which then puts the sort of the control in the contractor's domain. We did get a contractor who was willing to take a look at it and meet the timeline. However, the cost that we paid for what was hopefully going to be the entire project, now is only dealt with about half of the school.
That's why we have 500,000
Yeah.
for next year.
That's why right now we've put in about 500,000
To do phase
to
2.
do
Yes.
phase 2,
Yep.
correct.
Wow.
Interior and exterior door replacement, that actually has gone out to bid. We have a contractor, and they're set to begin that over the holiday break and probably continue over the different breaks. Mountain View Elementary, 2 years ago, we approved, spring of 2018, so I guess technically 1 year ago, 1 year and a half ago, a new clock and PA system, that was completed. And then in 2017, we had approved the classroom, bathroom, hot water renovation. That was completed this summer. It was started on roughly a year ago, but our DPW basically has been doing that anytime really they can get at it. Birchland Park Middle School, they were also part of that new clock and PA system, and I didn't put it on here, but I believe IT also upgraded their phones. And then 3 years ago, we installed new boiler and expansion tank in their boiler room. East Long Meadow High School, this past summer, we removed the asbestos and carpet in the athletic offices that are just outside or next to, adjacent to the entry to the girls' locker room. New carpet has been put in there. The HVAC system has been cleaned, and so we've moved staff back into those offices. This summer, although it wasn't a capital project, but if you remember when we held the parents' information night around the high school, there was a lot of discussion regarding the electrical system. What do we do if it were ever to basically stop? And we didn't have a lot of answers. If you remember my answer, it was somewhat in terms of long-range planning and working with DPW, but nothing incredibly specific. But this summer, we did some work with DPW, with the electrical contractor, and with National Grid. And the first part of hopefully a two-summer process, we were able to install inside the high school a new step-down transformer. So it takes the outside, National Grid owns the transformer where all the power is coming off the line to that transformer and then sending it into the school. In the school, we had an old, 50 or more years old, step-down transformer that was, for lack of a better term, humming at a really high-pitched squeal, and that was one of the first areas of concern because it was operating at a much higher temperature than it was really designed for, given the load. We now have stepped down the power coming in with a new transformer. It's doing a better job so that we should be able to, as we go out to the distribution panels, hopefully isolate different areas of the building. So should we have a power failure, hopefully it's not catastrophic where it's the entire system. It's something that we can isolate and fix while running the other parts of the building.
Good.
That's the plan. Yeah. They also, last year, got a new clock and PA system. Each of the classrooms, Sophia, do you see new clocks?
Yeah, well, they used to not work
Yep.
at all.
And now they work.
See?
Are they digital? Digital clocks?
No, they're still
Analog?
traditional,
Awesome.
but in some of my classes, it just would never tell the right time.
Right.
so, yeah.
What's the use of that?
Yeah.
Some was the same time
All
every
the
day.
time. It was right twice a day, right?
It's- So that gives you an update. Then the second sheet is a look at our, and it's a draft, we'll bring this back for the next meeting, at our capital plan, removing projects that we've completed or been approved, and starting to, at least at the building level, to prioritize what are we looking for in terms of projects possibly that are the most urgent for that building in fiscal year 2021. The sheet behind it, that's actually a two-sheeter. If you're looking on paper, if you're looking on the screen, it's still a two-sheeter, just scrolling fast. This was last year's five-year plan that ultimately we sent into the town council, town manager first, and then the town
If I
council.
can just give a historical perspective on that first sheet, if you go to Mountain View, that number 17,
Yes.
unfortunately, the town manager that worked on the agreement is no longer with the town.
Right.
But that was supposed to be an automatic approval of a 17, the replacement of the Mountain View.
Of their
modulars.
modular, yeah.
We had agreed to pull that, if you remember, Vice Chair, back then,
I do.
in honor of the one-to-one, as long as they put it back as number one on their list next year.
I think the hurdle will be the amount of funding this year.
Yeah.
And if that fits at
Right.
1.3, and how we prioritize our requests. Because
Right.
if we put that as request number one, if we're asked to prioritize, that may be all we get. So we'll have to, I think it's worth further discussion on that. But
Yeah.
yes, that's,
Yeah, but
that was the discussion, yes,
That,
yes.
plus the fact that the council has turned over quite a bit.
Sure.
There's gonna be an education component to this.
Right.
The hope is that, I think last year when it was originally recommended, they were looking to put that out to bond.
Right.
Yeah,
So
right,
maybe if
yeah.
that's still an option.
Because number 6 is now more than ever important, Mr.
The
Smith.
steam piping, I would say, is,
So that's new. I know it was, we approved it, but this request is not.
right.
And so that's new. The maple shade roof replacement was 866, now 1.2.
Right.
That's a new number based on a recent
It
assessment.
should be, yeah, based on Garland, but I will double check that.
So that's up 50% almost.
That's quite a jump.
And then
That could be a typo.
the Mountain View rubberized gym floor, that was not on here prior.
So, yes, that was on DPW's 5-year outlook. I did not unfortunately make my 5-year outlook, but last year. So it wasn't on, in 5th year, FY '24 last year. They now feel, given that it's a tile floor, and they do seem to have more slipping, especially in the PE and then when rec takes over, they're wondering if they should be replacing that with a rubberized
Is
floor.
it still in good shape though? It's just the slipperiness of it? I wonder if it's the way we're cleaning it, the waxing or
It
something.
could be some
Well,
nature.
it's probably
We'll check
kind
that.
I mean, I assume that those that are asking know this already, but
Well, it's coming from the.
we could
the-
scuff it up.
Yeah, it's coming from the PE teacher, but it could be a situation where.
Can we check with Bruce maybe
Yeah.
on that, or?
Yeah. PE
And
teacher
then-
and the principal.
So the the high school electric gear distribution panels, that's what you were talking about.
So yes,
That's
this
new,
would
what you
be,
were talking about.
this was new, again, this is something that we're looking to do as we build towards or wait for getting into the MSBA process. Because what this will do, with the new transformer, if we can change out the distribution panels, we should have an even better chance of sort of controlling if we had power failure, shutting down certain things, powering back
Right.
up certain things, and finding exactly where the problem is.
And who made that
So this is coming,
proposal? Whose
this is
idea
coming
that?
through Department of Public Works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll, obviously Bruce or whomever will be there when we ask for requests, but
Yes.
that will be something, because it's new, that will need some
They're gonna
justification
push
before.
for steam piping
Okay.
and that.
Okay.
And what's the end that?
What's
Steam
that?
piping and for the
And the
rubberized?
distribution,
No, the-
switch
The
gear.
high school.
The high school,
Distribution panels. 119.
30, number 30.
Okay.
That's a new one, new
Well,
request.
that's a new one, yeah, but that's
Yeah.
not one that would be, I see. I like what we did last year when we pulled out those items relevant to the MSBA. Remember?
Which
High school.
and this one I starred,
Yeah.
just so
Yeah.
you know, this will be something that when the MSBA comes, we're probably gonna talk about, because the balance that we're trying to keep is that we are maintaining the school, we are looking out to make sure that our students are always safe and secure. And so one of the things that DPW has been very concerned about, and I understand it, is how much longer can, say, that transformer run at that level? And had it gone down prior to us changing it out this year, we don't know how long the school had been closed,
Right.
It could have been 2 weeks, 4 weeks, as we look for parts and trying to deal with distribution and switchgear and transformers that basically were put in the school over 50 years ago.
So you're saying the starred ones are the ones we would pull out, Rich?
Correct.
So number 5, or these would be 34, the skylights, we would still look to possibly do those potentially.
And that's, yes, so
they
that's something,
leaking?
We'll find out.
Well,
We'll
not
see.
right now.
It's raining pretty hard right now.
Not right here.
Yeah.
So over the last 5 years, I believe 3 out of the last 5 years, DPW's been able to reseal, not necessarily redome, but reseal different skylights. So they've been trying to attack at least 10 or more a year. This is actually looking at doing, maybe attacking those 10 to 20 where they're redoming and resealing.
Okay.
So
And that covers it, the 20? 26? The 20?
it's, yeah, I think that may only cover 10 skylights. I'll have to get that number for you.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, it's hard to tell until it actually happens, which ones are leaking.
Right.
It's, you could go up there and look and you probably won't, won't be able to see it.
Well, have we identified the 10 that we
Basically, they would pick up wherever they stopped
Okay.
sealing, and they would take the ones
Well,
that they
that,
felt
yeah.
were
Yeah.
most in need of full repair, full replacement.
Can we almost spread that out? I mean, do we really need, I mean, that's, what's capital planning act, 20,000?
20,000 is threshold, yeah.
That's fine.
We can start doing that and phasing our own, within our own budget.
So, I mean, that's
Or
basically
continue to
more or
seal them
less
and hope for
what,
the best.
Yeah.
what
We got a lot of
DPW was
disaster.
doing. I think the reason that they've gotten away from it is that their list of tasks that they
Yeah.
have to accomplish in the summer has grown every year.
Yeah.
And so they just don't have the staff to throw at that. So I can't say that we would have their staff members
Yeah.
on that
Right.
this summer. They're
I
gonna-
mean, we've got to wait and see. I mean, this is the first time we've seen
Right.
anything like this.
Well, and
We don't
we're-
even know the direction.
We're requesting, if we were to request all of this year's requests, we're at $17 million. which is
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
It's not bad,
Right.
The other new one on here is the track, the resurfacing.
Yeah.
That's
So-
jumped in.
Right, so that's jumped in. That's something that we are researching. Kevin's looking into different companies that do it. We did find with the tennis courts that's interesting, as much as you have a variety of companies that may do this work, they don't necessarily like to come in after another company has put it in.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that may be a little different for track resurfacing, but what we noticed with the tennis courts is Cape Cod, is it Cape Cod
Yeah.
Tennis?
Cape Cod
Yeah,
Tennis.
Cape Cod Tennis put them in, and rightfully so, they put in expansion joints. Those expansion joints have done exactly what they were put in for, which they've allowed for the expansion, which has reduced cracking on other areas. So now we have to see, it doesn't make the level of the $20,000 threshold, but it's interesting, as we were just looking for additional price quotes, Vermont Tennis was hesitant to put in, said, well, you know what, if Cape Cod's put it in, they've done the expansion joints, you really should go with them. They'll give you the best service and best pricing for that type of construction.
Are those outside the playing
Yeah,
court
yeah.
itself, the expansion joints?
They're down the middle
Yep.
of a lot of them.
Okay.
You'll see right now, because the sort of rubberized fill no longer
I
expands
see.
far enough, so
Yep.
it's falling in.
The other new one that I noticed was next year, the Birchland Park ballasted flat roof repair. That's a new one.
That is a new one. And so DPW has done a lot of work on the area of Birchland's roof that has the stone.
Yes.
And so that's in good condition. This is actually the flat roof that sits on the interior. If you think of Birchland's
In front of the gym?
courtyard, yes, and by going
hallway
towards
in
the
front
gym.
of the gym, basically, is
Correct.
what it is.
Yeah.
That's the only non-stone roof?
The only, yeah, I believe that's the only
All the
non-stone
second floor
section.
is stone?
Has the stone.
Or the gym and the
Yeah.
cafeteria are stone?
Right.
Oh, interesting. But this is in need of repair or replacement?
This is now DPW feeling like that it jumped, they didn't even have that on their 5-year
Yeah, we
spreadsheet.
haven't.
Well,
So,
I mean, 20 years,
right.
it's time. Things are going to start happening. I hate to say it, but.
You know, they want it on our radar.
Right.
So they put it
Okay.
in year
That's
2.
helpful.
Yep. And then we pushed out the Maple Shade Optics expansion just because of the other requests.
Yes.
And that, Well, that one's pretty good. That one's not a security issue necessarily, because that has a straight
No,
shot.
it has a
of the
straight
visual
shot, plus they're getting the door replacements.
Oh, right.
So their security is going
Okay.
to increase, and there definitely is a typo because the unit ventilators and
They're
the
not
office
the
expansion
same.
can't be the same.
No, I was gonna
So I
say,
apologize for
yeah.
that.
To the dollar.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah.
Okay, so this isn't gonna go anywhere yet.
No, I think
This is our first run at it.
this is our first run at it. There are a few here that we have to double check pricing on, such as the steam piping. I don't think it's gonna be an even 500,000. It may be less due to the fact that we do have some remaining balance on what was originally gonna be the total project, but now becomes phase one. I'd like to get a better price on the Mountain View gym floor and get more information on that in terms of cleaning. And I have to, you asked, and wisely so, to get a check on the maple shade roof replacement.
So if we pull out the high school projects, it's more feasible of those, because there's about 12 million in high school projects.
Right.
So then that brings us down to 5 and change, which is more reasonable. Although historically speaking, at least as long as I've been around, it's between 500,000 and $1 million that the school side gets.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we bond, last year
Yeah.
we bonded, got a little more.
Right. That's how we
And
got
if they're
the
talking about
Meadowbrook
bonding this
liners.
year, potentially.
The capital discussion really so far has been school department, DPW. We're unsure of what the town's doing. I'm sure they're gonna be doing something. We wanna be prepared because the tendency is that when they jump in, their timelines are pretty rapid.
Yeah.
And they never really look at the fact that the school department has, as you said, $17 million worth of projects.
right.
And so getting all that information can be challenging.
Antonella, just so you know, at some point, we'll probably take a shot at prioritizing district-wide, and we'll go through it all again, but for now, we just kind of get an idea of what we're looking at, and the 5-year plan gives us an opportunity to look a little ways out, too. As you
So-
can see, there's plenty to do.
The numbers that I have in there are really more from the building principal than, say, from the facilities.
Oh, I didn't even see the priority in there, yeah.
Well, I noticed those, and I kind of assumed that that's where those.
I mean, I think,
came from.
say, Mr. Fredette would agree that obviously you gotta do the steam piping, that's number one for him.
Does the office expansion get Mr. Fredette an actual office?
It would increase it, but he shares that conference room
He
that
doesn't even
used to
have an
be.
office.
Well,
It's in the
he
back
gave,
of the nurses.
Yeah.
no, he gave up his
You have to cut
office
through from
to,
the, it's terrible, it's like this.
be more of a public conference room. However, he is in there quite a bit,
Yeah.
and
Check
one
it
of the
out.
things that's spectacular is,
Yeah,
he's in there 3 days a week at lunch with fifth graders, where he's teaching them the 3D design and printing.
Oh.
It's really neat.
Cool.
It's really neat. So he gets an office every now and again. Good.
I give
Keeps
him
him out
credit.
on the floor, that's
Make best
what
of what he's got, yeah. Yeah,
that's sitting around.
The
That's right.
expansion, yes, obviously would create better space
Okay.
and reconfigure things. But theirs is not necessarily security related because they have a direct eye shot of the door.
Yeah.
And the door project will give them a vestibule similar to Meadowbrook's.
we haven't really done any of the offices yet, right?
No, we haven't.
We keep
What we
talking
did is
about
we
that.
expanded our cameras and put sort of stronger security around, the buzz-in system and so forth.
Right, so next year, we're looking at Meadowbrook potentially, office. Mountain View office next year, potentially. The problem is everything just keeps getting pushed out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, again, we gotta wait and see what happens this year, and then,
Yeah.
to your point,
Yep.
we'll react next year. I mean, it's probably the best thing we can do
Yeah.
at this point. Once we get, a clearer direction of what's gonna happen townwide,
Right.
Yes.
we'll see.
So let them know we're asking for 17 million.
Yeah.
Well,
That'll be coming soon.
I'll start that memo. So I'll
Just give us a check,
try to
we'll
answer
fill it
the
in.
questions
Yeah.
that we
Super
brought
easy.
up tonight, and
Okay.
then I'll bring this back for everyone to prioritize.
Last year, when did we have capital due?
We actually, last year, I think it was this meeting where we prioritized everything, and we got it to the town manager, I want to say late October. Mr. Mackey, you okay.
November 1st was the
Was the deadline?
Deadline,
yeah.
So we get the 21st then.
I'm not sure they're gonna meet that this year.
So the 21st still
we can be
allows
ready.
us to.
Yeah, we can be
to-
ready.
You know, 21st still allows us to get the priority list. The big thing that I need from the principals is the individual project descriptions with all the backup stuff.
Yeah.
So I've asked them to get that into me by that last week of October, so that, because then I have to turn it around and put it all into some type of system so that it's being submitted to the town in one big document.
Yeah.
Okay, looks good. Any other questions on that? Nope.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll bring that back up then next meeting.
We will.
Is the plan?
Keep working on it.
We have discussion of school committee member adopting a SCUED.
So this was something that started in our professional development prior to the last meeting, and can continue into, if we're scheduling a professional development session and goal-setting session before the 21st meeting. But the idea was that as we're looking at each school and how they're setting their goals and sort of what they're doing, and also thinking about what are some other ways that we can show students having success, is that maybe we have a school committee member adopt one of the 5 schools, or each school committee member adopt one of the 5 schools, and throughout the year, connect with the staff, the students, get into classrooms, see some of the great things that are going on, beyond some of the nighttime events that we have, or some of the larger events that we have, such as the Invention Convention, or the immigration simulation, or 2 of the bigger projects that we have that are a little bit more public. But this would allow you to see sort of what's going on a daily basis. You know, get to Maple Shade and see that 5th grade lunch when Mr. Fredette's working with the students, teaching them 3D design and printing and so forth.
Okay,
I like the idea.
anybody have a request, or do you want to draw straws, or how do you want to do it? Rich is that, do you have a request?
I was just thinking, I don't know how the 2 parents feel on the committee. Do you want to go to the school where your children are? Would you rather avoid going to a school where your children are?
Interesting concept.
Or did you think about rotating at all? No? You know what I mean?
Well, we were thinking for the year, so
Yeah.
that,
Have one.
that,
Rotate on an annual
and one of the, yeah, you could rotate on an annual basis. The idea that we discussed at leadership was that they'd love for you to be part of our presentations. So, you know, say the mid-cycle presentation, if you've been to a school a few times, there are things you'll be able to comment on
Right.
and add to the presentation. And they were feeling that that might be more interactive in terms of the
Yeah.
presentations. You know, obviously the SMART goal presentation, there's not a ton of interaction yet because we're setting the goals. But then as we start to report out, how are we doing, there's more interaction.
So to Rich's point, how do you guys feel?
I'm open to anything. I mean, I'd like to get in all the schools, you know, a little bit here and there anyway.
Well, yeah, but I
um,
mean, just to hone in, to
Yeah.
Gordon's point, to hone in, I mean,
I'm pretty flexible. What do you want, Sarah?
It doesn't make a
Pick a
difference to me
school
either.
then.
pick
What
a
do you want?
school.
I want to go first.
Antonella, you want to pick one?
All
Is there
right,
a
I'll-
school you're specifically
I know.
interested in?
We draw names out of hand.
No? Bill's got
We can
one.
go to your
I'll do
expertise.
Maple Shade.
Bill's got Maple
I
Shade.
know.
I got
See,
Maple-
Maple Shade's gone, somebody better
I got
pick
Maple Shade. I took Maple Shade. You gotta jump now.
Rich, you have one you prefer?
Go ahead.
I'll take Birchline.
Burton's gone. Good.
Okay, 2 down. They're going quick.
Antonella, Sarah? We have Mountain View, the high school, and Meadowbrook.
Meadowbrook.
The 3 left. I'll take the high school.
High school's down.
There you go.
Meadowbrook or Mountain View?
I will take, I'll take Meadowbrook then.
Okay, Mountain View for me then.
There you go.
Stay on my
Done deal.
kids- Stay on my kids' hair.
Hey, I used to have fun when my daughter was around,
You're
walking
taking
into
Mountain View
classrooms.
and Sarah. So what I'll do is I will let the principals know and have them reach out to you.
Great.
Yes, that'd be good.
Sounds
Excellent.
Very good.
It's a great idea, great idea.
Yes, that's gonna be exciting.
Yes, it is.
Anybody got a pillow for this next?
No, we're gonna be good. This is quick.
Good.
Bill's got it down. Bill's gonna
Get
tell
down to
us,
science.
Bill's gonna tell us how he thinks we should vote, and we're gonna say okay.
Well, no, it's, let me shut this off.
So we have the MASC resolutions. When's this meeting coming up? It's coming up soon, right?
We have the delegate assembly the
First week
Friday of the
November,
conference.
I believe, right?
Well, it's
That first
the
week?
delegate assembly is actually
On that Friday.
on that Friday, November, November 8th, I
I
think.
think you should read the whole thing.
No. Overruled. Is that my judge? No, I can't.
You should read the rationale, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna do what I've done in the past,
Therefore,
Okay.
be it resolved
and
to
I'm
the
gonna read the
rationale.
rationale as soon as I can. find it.
Banning polystyrene from schools, resolution number 1.
Okay, this was presented, presented to the Board of Directors by the Silver Lake Regional School District, which includes Kingston, Plimpton, and Halifax. And the rationale is the licensure of Massachusetts educators is, wait a minute, where am I?
I think you're moving
Oh, no,
the
you
second
moved
No,
to
I
one.
number
went to the
two.
second one. The rationale, proponents cite the presence of toxins including carcinogens in polystyrene and note that the containers manufactured with the substance can be found in food and beverage containers that might pose a risk to students and others. And I was at a workshop last Thursday in West Bridgewater, and all of these resolutions were presented, and the author of this particular resolution spoke, and he said that styrofoam and the alternatives are so close in price now that it really, it's not gonna have much of a budgetary impact.
Are we
Because
talking
of cost.
biodegradable?
What do we,
Well, getting away from styrofoam.
Right, so what do they use instead
and
then?
plastic too, right?
Well, it's a composite material that breaks down, it'll,
It's probably like those paper trays.
yeah, it
Rather
breaks
like
down quicker than,
styrofoam.
because
We're
styrofoam doesn't
gonna look
break
into
down.
the trays here, right?
We were going to ask, one of the questions from the Student Advisory Committee was just, is there an option to move away from styrofoam trays?
Yeah,
Okay.
but this is just,
So what are we recommending? That we agree to this one?
I would recommend that we agree to it.
Okay. So, how do we word that?
Just, what you're doing is
So in support of
authorizing me to vote whatever the,
in favor?
In
Favor
favor.
resolution 1,
yeah,
Okay. Motion for that effect?
make a motion that we vote to approve the,
Mr. Fonseca, vote on our
Vote.
behalf in the affirmative for resolution
Resolution
number 1. Okay, motion made
Second.
and seconded for discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
nay.
Motion carries 4-1.
okay. Resolution 2 is pertaining to educator diversity and professional licensure. This was submitted by the Arlington School Committee, and the rationale is the licensure of Massachusetts educators is governed by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. The oversight of the licensure by non-educators has resulted in a complex, difficult licensure system that discourages qualified candidates from applying for licensure and employment in Massachusetts. Recruiting a diverse, qualified cohort of new educators will be enhanced if the barriers presented by MTEL are removed, and if licensure regulations and standards are placed in the hands of a committee of educators. And an expanded version, there's more information on the MASC website. Basically, there are the New England states that have done away with MTEL or the things that look like MTEL, and they go to more of a portfolio type thing for licensure.
Okay.
So this is just saying, there are alternatives to MTEL out there. I don't know how the educators feel, but, one of the goals of MASC and across the state, and even across the country, is to attract a more diverse set of candidates for teachers.
Mhm.
And MTEL sometimes can be prohibitive. They don't want to lower the standards, they just want to offer alternatives to the MTEL for licensure.
What do you think about that?
I would say that certainly the MTEL exams often become a subject of any hiring process that we get involved in. I haven't researched it to the point where I've seen, whether it's prohibiting certain individuals from coming into the field of education, but we certainly have been in situations where we have a candidate that we feel is going to be the best fit, and that candidate is still working through the licensure process, so it definitely can become a challenge.
So this would allow some leeway in that regard.
Well, I think it would streamline the process as well.
Okay.
It's interesting though, because they're saying the MTEL, which is assessment-based, but then they're also talking about the PAL tasks, which are more portfolio-based.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that they're talking
Getting
about
both.
moving towards a
Grouping
portfolio
together.
Right.
system potentially, yet they're citing that the mass PAL tasks should
I
also
think-
be eliminated.
I think the key in this one, so I didn't go with the political answer, is that they don't want it in the hands of the Board of Education.
That's basically what it comes down to.
So remember, this is MASC.
This is the
What the
MASC
resolution-
version
Right.
of what, and these, keep in mind that these are crafted into bills,
Yeah.
our lobbyist
Yeah.
takes them
Right.
to the House, to the.
It's food for thought
It's
for
food
those
for
that
thought.
make the rules.
Right.
Okay. A motion to that effect of resolution 2?
Make a motion to have Mr. Fonseca vote in the affirmative for resolution 2.
Motion made.
Second.
Second.
Sorry.
Further
I was
discussion?
still thinking about it. I know. I was
Any further
thinking about
discussion?
it
Hearing
too.
none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0. Number 3.
Okay, school transportation, presented by the Hudson School Committee. I also sit on the Resolutions Committee. There is no rationale to this because this one has been presented before. What happens is, especially in regional school districts, if you go out to bid for transportation, you get one bidder. They have basically carved up the state and eliminated the RFP
Competition.
process. So what this resolution is saying is do away with that, make it all competitive.
That makes sense.
Because there's just, it won't affect us because LPVEC does our transportation. But if you go into these private contractors, they have, and they've got, there's maps on the MASC website.
It's a huge issue. I can tell you as a, business manager and talking to others around the state, and it's always a talk of conversation.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
how many bid out for your RFP and it 1, 2, and
Yeah.
or they drop out, or 5 show up and make it look, but then when it comes to submitting the bid, only 1 comes in. So it's
Oh.
a big
It's
dollar
driving-
business, it really is.
It's driving
A
the cost.
collusion, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's supposed to be a non-collusion process, but it does
Right.
make you wonder
Right,
sometimes.
Because if you get one bidder, one
Yeah.
company that submits a bid,
Right.
they're holding you hostage.
You gotta bust the kids.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to have Mr. Fonseca vote in the affirmative for resolution 3.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the fourth resolution is a climate change. This was 4 resolutions were presented to the Resolutions Committee speaking about this. So what we basically did was kind of like put them all together and came up with this. This resolution represents a call by advocates for further action on climate change at the federal level for state funding to anticipate climatological implications and emergencies they might cause. I mean, it's basically what's in the news every day.
Yeah.
And this is just memorializing what I hope everybody is feeling.
Yep. Good.
I make a motion to Mr. Fonseca vote in the affirmative for resolution number 4.
Motion made.
I second.
And seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0.
Okay, Resolution 5 is the full funding of transportation costs for students in foster care and state care. This was submitted by the Board of Directors. Because the foster care population is fluid, it is difficult for a school district to budget properly for unexpected transportation costs of students in foster care or state custody. Direct and full funding of transportation will remedy these problems while equitably and accurately allocating costs. The state auditor notes the Commonwealth's failure to provide funding for transportation of foster students may be an unfunded mandate under local mandate law, General Law, Chapter 29, Section 23C. The similar situation is, this is a similar situation to that of the McKinney-Vento finding by Auditor Bump in 2011-2012 as a requirement is tied to federal funding under Title I. The need to provide transit to these students means this could potentially be a requirement passed by the state to local districts without offsetting funding. Massachusetts received over $220 million in Title I Part A grants in each of the fiscal years 16, 17, and 18. While the reimbursement only offers a portion of these funds expanded, it could help to offset some of the expenses incurred by school districts to comply with the state and federal laws. I won't continue reading because it all basically says the same thing. We're looking for the reimbursement funding because it's a federal mandate, federal funds get reimbursed and filtered down to the state and to the local level.
You don't mind me just chiming in, because
Right.
that was a recent topic
Yeah.
at a meeting I was at last week, and so it's brand new, and what they're looking for is actually the town council needs to sign off on this. And again, I didn't get time to even talk to Mr. Smith about this yet, but what I can tell you that the funds are not going to come directly to the school, they're going to go to the general fund. So I just want you to just know that. So, it's good to have these conversations, so the town council, I mean, it'd be nice to have an understanding of why the money's coming in and where the intent was to go, but I just want you to know that the funds go to the general fund, which means it's not our budget, just so that you know.
Should we have a conversation with them on that?
Possibly, because like I said, I just, in fact, it's sitting on my desk, just printed off the documents that they're talking about. And I think they're talking about like a January or February that they're really hoping to get, because it needs to be this, like, I think they're calling it an MOU, a memorandum
it
of
is.
agreement or understanding between the town council and the state on what's gonna happen with the funds or what needs to, again, there's a lot more to it, and.
If this were to pass? Or they're already assuming?
No,
They're
there is
already-
there's something in motion for this.
Yes, there is.
This is why when it came to the board of directors, Glenn Kuchar explained to us exactly what Pam just said. The mechanism has already started. What we're trying to do with this resolution is make sure that the funds get to the local level. There's no mechanism in place for the even if the funds go into the general fund, as Pam explains, there's no mechanism to make that
We should
happen.
probably get on an agenda.
This resolution
Is it
is talking
significant?
about this.
Well, I mean,
It's
I had a lot of
necessary.
business managers
Yeah.
stand up and say, well, where do the funds go, you
Yeah.
know? So it kind
Yeah.
of like, and we're gonna do all the work, and then the funds go to
Right,
the
but if we, in
general fund.
anticipation of this
But
coming, go to the
that is
council
correct,
and get on
yes.
their agenda and make it a public
Yes.
statement
I
about it,
would
we
say
should
that
probably do
is
that.
correct, and I'll talk to.
If we were to do that, I think we would also want to add the Medicaid
Yeah,
money.
Yeah, because the Medicaid numbers can come from the collaborative.
have that
Because it'll be
discussion.
the same,
Well, if you remember last year, when we started to highlight the amount of money that comes through the Medicaid reimbursement,
Yeah,
all of that flows into the
Right.
general fund. And I think last year we were up to 200.
Over
we talked about it, we brought it up in our
We're
discussion
well
about
up,
the
yeah.
budget.
But we don't have
But
any
make
agreement.
the point again,
Right.
yes, so we should talk about those two things, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
why don't we do
I
that?
will show Mr. Smith those documents tomorrow, and we'll go over them and then
Think
talk
about getting
further
on their
about it.
agenda for
Yep.
that,
Figure out a time
and
frame.
we could go. You
Yeah.
could-
That
you
makes
could go,
sense.
yeah, Okay,
I make a motion to have Mr. Fonseca vote in the affirmative for resolution number 5.
motion made
Second.
and seconded, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye, those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0.
Resolution 6 is something that came back to the Board of Directors, a reaffirmation of a 2014 resolution submitted by none other than the Framingham School Committee. And this has not been acted on by the state yet, so there was a request to bring it back, and that request was approved. This resolution would help ensure that our underserved population of 3- and 4-year-olds would be provided with supports and services necessary for school readiness and lasting success in the classroom for future success. Knowing that these strategies are documented in increasing student access, our resolution will level the playing field to help ensure equity and the beginning of the process of closing the achievement gap for this vulnerable cohort of children.
What's the funding mechanism, or who's funding this? The state or federal? State, we're asking the state to
They're
fund
saying
it.
the state's
Yeah.
gonna fund it, yeah.
How do we feel about that? As the community of East Long Meadow, is that something that we feel is necessary?
The short answer,
Yeah,
no.
that's what I was thinking.
So we're already required for early intervention.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
where our preschool comes from, and
Right.
then we advertise for peer role models to
Yep.
balance that out.
But those are the paid tuition though? The peer
Yes,
role
yeah,
models.
and the peer role models
Yep.
pay some tuition.
Out of
You know,
Yeah, but
if you were,
discounted
if
cost.
this were
very
to be fully
inexpensive, right?
funded,
Not very expensive.
you would also need to look at space
Yeah.
and staffing.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I think
But-
it's 2,600
For the year?
a year, yeah.
But you also have to keep in mind who submitted the
No, I know.
initial
Yep, I
resolution.
know.
And the population that
I
they're
understand.
serving is one of the most diverse and fluid populations in the state.
So this would also be a vote for the affirmative,
Right.
and you could vote in the affirmative or the negative to that
Right.
vote of the
So I
affirmative.
make a motion to, Mr. Fonseca vote in the affirmative for Resolution 6.
Motion made
I'll second.
and seconded, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion is denied 2-3.
Uh,
Numero 7.
Resolution 7 is along the same lines, resubmitted by the Framingham School Committee. This resolution would help ensure that our underserved population school children will be provided with the supports and services necessary for lasting success in the classroom and in their future, knowing that by eliminating the ravages of poverty, these strategies have been proven to increase positive student outcomes. This resolution would level the playing field to help ensure equity and to close the achievement gap for this vulnerable cohort of children.
What? I mean, this is so abstract.
It is.
So again, I think this one, it's very laudable, it's whether the
Right.
state actually will fund it.
Right,
Yeah.
and
The state would
that's,
have to come through with ample funding for all districts to make this happen.
now, the timing of a lot of these resolutions, keep in mind, the Student Opportunity Act was just
Right.
passed by the Senate.
Right,
So everybody's trying to get to the table
right.
with a handout.
Yeah.
So I think that's why this one was sent back.
The Student Opportunity Act puts into circuit breaker to cover special ed transportation both in district and out of district, which would really be a benefit to many school districts, but certainly
not
to
us.
us. No, to us.
It will.
To us,
Yeah, we
yeah.
spend about $800,000
Okay.
on,
Yeah.
Special ed
so if we could put that into circuit breaker, that would be fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this might be beneficial, something
Yeah.
like this.
Something like this,
Well,
yeah.
Something like this would be
Depends on-
beneficial.
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot.
I make a motion to have Mr. Fonseca vote the affirmative for Resolution 7.
Motion made
Second?
and seconded, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed nay. That carries 5-0.
Moving along to Resolution 8, access for menstrual supplies. Proponents assert that the menstrual supplies are basic necessities for some students may not have on hand in school at any particular moment or may not be able to afford in general. They view these items similar to other products found in nurses' offices or restrooms as basic, essential commodities for everyday use that should be available to all students without charge.
I asked this question, we already do this here, correct?
We do it through the nurse's office.
So why does this have to be voted? Are you talking about the school system?
There are school
They don't have that
systems.
sensitivity?
Yeah.
There are.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
That's
I mean, we don't-
prehistoric.
We don't do it in the bathrooms, we do it
Right.
through the nurse's office.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
There's data out there that shows absenteeism increasing in certain populations when this stuff starts occurring. And that's why this resolution.
And I just can't
came
believe
to
that
us.
school nurses' offices across the state don't have this already in place.
Districts don't want to fund it.
Well, here's
Well,
the
I
thing,
mean, you have
here's
to
the
fund
thing.
it through your
Well,
budget.
Yeah.
As I said, I went to a workshop last week, and somebody stood up and said, there are companies out there, in order to promote their products, will give this stuff away
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
nurses' offices.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you just
there's-
have to,
There's probably hurdles for some
there are
districts that won't
hurdles,
allow it.
and this is why it's actually a good resolution, because
Yeah.
there's
Yep.
nothing that's memorialized
Right.
that says this is a basic,
No, this is good.
Unbelievable. Basic need, my
Right.
God.
All right, take it away, Rich.
This is what I like.
Come on down to the Cape and you can vote on
I make a motion
it.
to have Mr. Fonseca vote in the affirmative for Resolution 8
Motion made
with feeling.
Yes.
Seconded.
And seconded. Further discussion, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed nay, that carries 5-0. Last one.
Last one, charter school reform. This resolution addresses several areas where charter school critics note that the school districts are disadvantaged by current policy. Among these issues are failure to recruit and retain a fair proportion of students at risk, English language learners, or clients of special education services. The resolution also recommends that charter schools should be funded as a discrete budget line item rather than having the sending district Chapter 70 funding diverted to charter schools,
Right.
and that the current mitigation program to offset temporary losses of district funds be fully funded. Critics of this resolution may argue the money follows the child and that charter schools represent choices for parents and students. They might also cite efforts by some charter schools to recruit students at risk. It's clear that this isn't happening, that charter schools kind of just pick and choose who they want. This resolution is trying to level the playing field, basically.
I make a motion that Mr. Fonseca vote in the affirmative for resolution number 9.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed nay, that carries 5-0 as well.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, good luck, have fun,
Oh, yeah.
rock and roll. That brings us to the conclusion. Sophia, thanks for being here tonight. Mr. Mackey, thank you for recording tonight. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made
Seconded.
and seconded by Mr. Schilla. Further discussion, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed nay, motion carries 5-0. Good evening.